Alright, it seems that this fight is getting a lot bigger than I think a lot of people anticipated. Logan Paul and Dillon Danis are set to face off, I think, October 14th on that Prime Misfits boxing card. Also, KSI is fighting Tommy Fury. A whole bunch of fights are going to be happening that night, but this fight definitely seems to be catching the most attention because I've seen people talk about this that don't even talk about combat sports. They don't even talk about the whole YouTube boxing scene. They don't even talk about MMA. People learning who Dillon Danis is. People learning about Logan Paul and his boxing in the fight. Like, I have friends of mine that aren't even really into this that are talking about this, like, holy shit, what is Dillon Danis doing? And so many people are talking about it. Just look at the numbers Dillon Danis is pulling on his Instagram. This fight is getting really big, and I want to talk about my prediction. I did a video breaking it down a little bit ago, but that was a long time ago. We've seen Dillon Danis post some footage, which I think is interesting and will give us a little bit of detail of his game plan going into the fight. And I want to talk about will it work against Logan Paul. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, because we're trying to hit 20K by the end of the year. You guys are the best fans ever. But I want to talk about the fight. Now, look, Logan Paul, we all know him, right? He is one of the more popular influencers on the internet right now, right? I mean, from the controversy a long time ago with the whole Tokyo thing, with him going to the suicide forest, we don't really need to talk about that, but then he hops into boxing, boxed KSI, boxed Floyd Mayweather, but the guy has yet to get a win. He's a little bit, you know, more non-committal with this boxing thing. Like, Jake is definitely a lot more committed to boxing. Like, he's active, fighting better opponents, and actually has wins, while Logan doesn't. And that's something I don't get about this fight, is you can't claim this fight is one-sided or not a fair matchup simply because Logan hasn't won. So I think this is a fair fight. I don't think this is necessarily an easy matchup for Logan Paul, even though it might be. I don't think it's unfair to give Dillon Danis to Logan Paul, right? But Dillon Danis, guys, if you guys don't know, he is an expert grappler in jiu-jitsu, won multiple high-level tournaments for jiu-jitsu. He has 2 fights in MMA, hasn't fought in a while because he had a pretty serious knee injury. And yeah, and he's been talking about boxing for a while, and it makes sense. When you have a knee injury like that, what else are you really going to train? You're not going to train jiu-jitsu, you're not going to train wrestling, you're not going to train kicks, you're going to train the boxing, right? How good is Dillon Danis? We're going to get into that later, but Dillon Danis also has been talking a lot of shit about Logan Paul. Obviously, I did a video separate to this about Logan Paul being a clown, basically trying to silence Dillon Danis. And although I can say, hey, Dillon Danis is perhaps taking it a bit too far, I could also say that it's the fight game. You can't really go around complaining and being like, hey, Dillon Danis said this when you're going in there to beat the hell out of each other and knock him unconscious. So it's a little bit of a tricky issue, and I do feel bad for some parties in this, especially his fiance. However, it is hard to deny that a lot of it is funny. But regardless, we're here to talk about the fight. I got you all caught up, and this fight I think has the potential to be massive just because you look at the numbers this thing is bringing in. I mean, Dillon Danis posted a video of Nina today, and it basically, last time I checked, had 20 million views and 100K likes. I can only imagine now because that was earlier in the day, so it probably has maybe even double that, which is insane interactions for Dillon Danis. This isn't even from Logan Paul. This is from Dillon Danis, a relatively unknown guy prior to this fight. And the big question mark with Dillon Danis is, yes, will he show up? We did see him pull out of the fight with KSI. He does talk a lot of shit about fighters and doesn't really fight. Last time he fought was 2019, although a lot of people don't say, hey, it was because of a serious knee injury. It wasn't like he was sitting around all those years. He's had a knee injury for a long time. He had to do multiple reconstruction surgery on his knee. That is a serious knee injury, and man, you know, I kind of feel bad for Dillon Danis in that regard because especially if you look at his age, he's missing out on a lot of experience that he could be gaining. But look, he's supposed to fight Logan Paul. If he doesn't show up, he gets fined. We all know that, but let's talk about the fight. What is the game plan for Dillon Danis? And what made me want to talk about this was a video that he posted on Twitter of him boxing, and I gotta say, it wasn't a lot of footage, but it did show a lot. It showed that Dillon Danis is gonna want to get close, which we knew. I mean, Logan Paul is the taller guy. He has a really good jab, and Dillon Danis is that grappling guy. He's gonna want to get into the clinch and land shots there and wear on Logan Paul. I think that is probably the best way to beat him. Realistically, is it the best game plan? Yes, that probably is the best game plan for Dillon Danis to mix in his grappling, but I just hope that he's really equipped for, you know, being there and controlling the distance, not being there for Logan to get hit, because Logan has a tall jab, because Logan is a tall fighter, right? He has a long jab. He's a tall dude. I believe he's like 2 inches taller than Dillon Danis, and Logan Paul has a very fast jab, and if we're talking about who's the better boxer, it's most likely going to be Logan Paul. And why I say most likely is something that a lot of people aren't talking about is, look, they compare the striking in Bellator, right? Which, yes, that version of Dillon Danis would get KO'd by Logan Paul most likely, but what a lot of people aren't taking into consideration, which I've been saying throughout these all videos, a reason why I'm giving Dillon Danis a chance is because, listen, the guy's been injured since 2019, right? He's been talking about boxing since 2020, right? He wanted to box Jake Paul. He was supposed to fight him instead of Ben Askren, wanted a couple months for his knee to heal, etc. And that's 3 years ago, right? I'm giving Dillon Danis a chance here simply because we don't know how good he's gotten, right? 3 years is a decent amount of time, and like I said, he isn't going to be training kickboxing. He's not going to be training, you know, wrestling or jiu-jitsu. He's most likely going to be using his hands sparring, right? And especially when you have someone like Conor McGregor, who is a really good boxer, despite Logan Paul saying he's an average MMA fighter. Like, listen, Logan, I hate to break it to you, but Conor would beat you, right? And I know that there's a massive size difference, but Logan Paul really isn't that good of a boxer. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you guys might get mad. Jake is a good boxer. KSI KSI, to a certain extent, is a good boxer, but I'd say he's a better fighter in terms of actual boxing. He's not. But yes, he could do pretty well, I think. But Logan is just a lot less technical. I think he has really good reflexes and head movement, and that's definitely a strong suit is his defense, but his offense is pretty terrible. He has a really good jab, but he just has trouble pulling the trigger at times, and I think, you know, if you're going to beat Dillon Danis, you're going to want to have to pull that trigger. I think you want to bank on the fact that Dillon Danis could be hittable. We have seen him in some street fights, not that that's really, you know, a measurement to how well he'll do against Logan, but he did get hit by Anthony Taylor with a big overhand right less than a year ago. And like I said, I don't want to look too deep into that, but my point is that I think if we're talking about who's the better boxer, Logan is, but I think that Dillon could surprise a lot of people, and if he's able to have good enough boxing to hang with Logan Paul, to protect himself and land some shots, I think it could be rather difficult. But my big fear is, look, if Dillon's plan is to get in close, it's going to be really complicated with a guy like Logan who has a really good jab, right? Logan, I could see him, you know, jabbing Dillon Danis, but will he get tired, right? Because if you guys remember the first KSI fight, Logan was tired, and then in the second fight, he looked a lot better with his cardio, and in the Floyd Mayweather fight, he did get gassed, like maybe a little bit midway through, but got a second win. I'd say overall his cardio in that fight was pretty decent, so I don't think that cardio is really going to be a problem either, unless Dillon really invests to the body, which I think would be a very smart game plan, and hangs on Logan, you know, really takes advantage of the clinch work. I'm not gonna lie, I am rooting for Dillon Danis, and I hope that he has good enough boxing to at least withstand the little offense from Logan Paul and could get on the inside. I think if Dillon Danis is gonna win this, I think he's gonna have to outland Logan Paul. I think it's going to have to be with volume. I don't think he's gonna knock out Logan Paul. I don't think he's gonna, you know, just whip out with one shot, one overhand left. But I will say, look, if the guy has decent boxing, he is a southpaw. He's a young guy that hasn't taken a lot of damage in terms of head damage, so he isn't someone that's gonna easily get knocked out like maybe like a Tyron Woodley did, or even a Ben Askren or something like that. Like, the guy has his brain with him. Plus, the guy is going to be training with Conor McGregor, who, yes, is a very hard sparrer. And if Dillon Danis could hang with Conor McGregor, I'm not saying beat him, but hang, then that would be a big confidence booster for him. And that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think that he's going to be able to necessarily, you know, outclass Logan Paul. I think what it's going to come down to is, can he withstand and hang with him? If he can close the gap and kind of be even half the boxer Logan is, maybe he can win it based on his competitive spirit and based on the clinching and based off of a good game plan and mixed in with shots. I think he has to go backwards, have Logan Paul moving backwards. Honestly, I think a decent game plan for someone like Logan who does have good head movement is maybe letting him go first. See how Logan Paul does on the offense. We know that he kind of has low output. So like I said, I think in my opinion, the most realistic way Dillon is going to win this fight is by outlanding Logan Paul, landing shots to the body, getting into the clinch, rinse and repeat, wearing him down. However, guys, I don't think this is going to work. I think Logan is going to win. I think he's going to win a decision or a late TKO. I don't think he's going to just spark Dillon out early. Logan doesn't really have power like that. He didn't really put down KSI, except for that, you know, uppercut that landed, which was a really good shot, but other than that, he really didn't land anything else on KSI that really hurt him, or Floyd Mayweather, which, you know, that's Floyd, but still, the guy hasn't shown to have crazy power, so I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Dillon Danis. I think he'll most likely go to a decision, or maybe it'll be like a standing TKO in the later rounds, or maybe, you know, it just adds up. This fight's supposed to be 8 rounds, which I actually think hurts Dillon Danis more, because like I said, I think if Dillon's going to win, I think he's going to, you know, wear him out with the clinch, outland him, and I think it's going to go down to a close decision where Dillon wins, like maybe a few rounds. And even then, I mean, you're dealing with misfits, right? This isn't necessarily a pro fight. I know these are technically not exhibitions, but they're not exactly the real pro fights, if you know what I mean. And I'm not saying that to take away anything, but to be fair, if this thing goes to a decision with Dillon Danis against Logan Paul, who do you guys think is going to win, Logan Paul or Dillon Danis? Let's be honest. So I don't like Dillon Danis' chances of winning. However, though, like I said, he could have gotten a lot better with the boxing over the past few years. We haven't seen him. He has been looking, you know, pretty decent, not crazy good, but I just think, look, if Dillon could at least hang with him and not get hit all the time and get battered by Logan Paul, I think he has a decent chance. But guys, let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about this video? Who do you guys got, Logan Paul or Dillon Danis? Let me know in the comment section below. Guys, you guys are the best fan base in MMA. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.